Here is a story, well, it's a true story about the most creepiest, scariest thing that's ever happened to me. Well, at least in my opinion. I'll let you be the judge if it's creepy, scary, mildly off-putting, or just me blowing things out of proportion. Okay, this all happened back in 2005. February 2005, I was 22 at the time, and I was in the Navy, and I was stationed at the Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia. So one Sunday morning, I had the idea to go back to my old base, which was the Norfolk Naval Base, just to see if anybody that I knew was still there and hang out and that kind of stuff. All right, so I took a cab all the way out there. When I got out of the cab and went on the base, everything was dead. Like, there was no animal life, insects, birds, or even people. I'm like, okay, this is weird. Usually there's something going on. There's usually people walking around. This is the later morning hours, like maybe around 11 a.m. So I'm walking. Then I had the idea to go to the computer lab on base just to see if anybody was online. So I'm walking towards the computer lab, and all of a sudden, this older guy pops out of nowhere right in front of me. He was about maybe late 50s to early 70s. He was about maybe 6'3", with a stocky, powerful build. He was wearing like a members only jacket from the 80s, gray, with like off-color white Izod polo shirt and like gray slacks and dress shoes. At that time period, I was around 5'8", 120 pounds, and I always look younger than I actually am. So back then, I probably looked like I was around 15 to 17 years old. You know, a major height and weight difference between the two of us, of course, age. Then he kind of gives me a creepy smile, like, all right. And then he said, hey, it's a nice day today. I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, so what are you doing today? I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to the computer lab over there. It's like, oh, are you going to talk to your mom and your girlfriend? And I didn't have a girlfriend at the time, but I said, yeah. So, okay. And then I go to the computer lab. In the computer lab, you're only allowed an hour on the computers, which is understandable for a base like that size. So I go to the computer lab. There's nobody there except for the lady who runs the thing. So I go online, and there's nobody online. Like MySpace, Messenger, nothing, nobody. I was like, okay, this is weird. There's nobody outside, really, and there's nobody online. This is really strange. So I use up my hour looking up like Who stuff, like The Who, my favorite band, and Rocky Horror stuff, just to pass the time for the hour. And after the hour's over, I leave. I say goodbye to the lady. And as I walk down the stairs towards the lobby area, the old guy's right there. I'm like, okay, our alarm bells are popping up my head, like pop, 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 pop. I'm like, okay, this is strange now. This is weird. This is not just some chance encounter. It was like he was there waiting for me. So, like, I get to the lobby. He's like, oh, so did you have a fun time in the computer lab? I'm like, yeah. It's like, did you talk to your mom and your girlfriend? I'm like, yeah. And then he said, how are they doing? I'm like, oh, they're doing all right. He's like, oh, that's good. That's good. He said, it's a really nice day today. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's a nice day. He's like, would you like to go for a ride with me? Right when he said that, John Wayne Gacy flashed in my head with his crawl space. The thought popped in my head, like, if I go with this guy for a ride, I'll be underneath his floorboards within the next few hours. So, of course, I say no, and he leaves. Then I had the idea to walk to the movie theaters that was a little bit off base to see the new Keanu Reeves movie, Constantine. And as I started to walk towards there, this thought screamed in my head, you're on foot and he's in a car. You need to get out of here now. And I didn't second guess that at all. I retraced my steps back to where I was. As I did that, everything came back to life, like human, people and birds, insects, animals, that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, everything's back to normal. Just all right. And then all of a sudden I see a cab coming. I jump on the street and hail the first cab, that cab. Of course, the cab stops, and I get in the cab, and the cab driver said, wow, you're the first person I ever saw that ever hailed a cab like that. And I thought to myself, you don't know the half of it. And that is my true story.